Well, just to give you a sense of how cold it is, it's 3 in the afternoon and we've still got snow on the ground, or at least some very, very heavy frost. I am also a Warhammer widow for the weekend, so I guess we'll see what we can get up to with just me. So, the first thing on the list for today, our bathroom door has decided to come off the hinges. I think that when they took the doors off to do the undercuts and then stuck them back up, they just put them back into the same holes, which had probably been stripped many, many times over the decades. Thankfully, I'm a bit of a screw hoarder, so I definitely have some screws that should fit. It's just about figuring out just how thick and deep they're going to have to be. So I'm going to play around in the screw can for a few minutes, and then hopefully we can fix this door so that we don't have to go all the way downstairs to use the teeny tiny loo if we want some privacy. All right, hopefully some combination of these will work. All right, let's start by just taking the center one out. So you can see these are very short screws. See if we can move it enough. We have the slight problem of not knowing where my drill extender is. I tried to talk Andy into taking me to the hardware store the other day to get a new one. I was denied. I should probably relearn how to drive. Much better. At least now we should be able to open that enough. I can use the drill on the other ones. Hopefully. Just want to use relatively fat ones. Come on, you. Oh, too much stuff behind the door. Make room. Okay. And one more for luck. Okay. Absolutely not perfect, but hopefully the door will at least shut now. Would be a nice change. No. You're too high. Are you too high just because of this rack that's been put on you? Theoretically, yes. Well, it's a bit high even without the rack thing. Oh, I don't know if I could make it go lower though. Let's see, what can we do to make you a bit lower? So actually, not so much low as So you need to be that way at the top. And I get any kind of leverage under you barefoot. Here, let me just completely strip all the screws. That would help. Oh, that's better. Okay. Hoops silly and get them in the rest of the way with just Mr. Screwdriver. Yay! I may just take out one of the bottom ones and put in a longer screw down there as well, just so that we can avoid doing this again when the bottom inevitably jumps out. Ow. Should probably vacuum up here at some point today. Nah. You're not the right bit. Could you deal with it? There we go. Okay, as long as that still shuts. Check. All right, one less thing on the list. Unfortunately, I think we are gonna have to just call this lamp a failure, as it's once again trying to burn out a bulb. And since I've had the wiring checked twice, I know it's not the wiring, it's just the lamp, and it keeps flickering. Great.
So one of the things that has been on the to-do list for, well, probably months, to be honest, is getting this paint stripped. I don't know what kind of paint this is. It's not lead, but what it is really gummy. So when we tried to scrape it off after we took the wallpaper down just to make sure we'd have a decent finish, it's really challenging to get off. So I'm just gonna throw some stripper on it while Andy's away and nobody's gonna be coming in and out of this door for a couple of days. And hopefully it'll be enough to get through however many layers of weird paint. So I'm just gonna put the stripper up, throw some cling film on it, and then maybe check it tonight, but probably just leave it overnight and deal with it in the morning. I do have a couple of different kinds of paint strippers still, and loads of them, before we realized that scraping actually worked best for some of it. So let's just throw some stripper on this wall.
Thankfully, the stripper isn't too toxic when you're doing a small area, and miraculously, the cling film even cooperated, which I admit I was not expecting. One of the things that I want to get done before the guys come to do the internal wall installation, kind of at the end of January, early February, is just to make sure that the ceiling is all prepped and painted. And because it's got to dry for a couple of hours between each layer of skim, paint, etc., I really had to get a start on it.
So it's definitely not perfect, but with a wee bit of sanding, it should be perfectly fine. Just to go ahead and put the ceiling paint up. I don't think it will need a second coat of skim, but we'll see how it dries over the next couple of days and I'll come back to it probably Sunday. It definitely needs a day or two to dry.
Our very noisy neighbors came for a little morning snuggle and then slight standoff on the neighbor's shed for a while. They tear the garden up every night. They're beautiful, beautiful jerks. Stupid foxes. In a vain attempt to distract myself, I'm gonna just do a bit of scraping off this paint. So I've let it sit all evening.
That may or may not have been a good idea. Sometimes letting it cure for longer helps, and sometimes it dries out and actually just makes it worse. So we will find out together which of those this situation is about to be. And then scrape this bit off. Oh, that's satisfying. Except for the part where there's still lead paint under it. Yeah, actually, there's just enough of that lead coming off that I'm going to go grab a mask. All right, that's a good start. Let's get this corner over here as well. Well, let's get that swept up, and then we'll do the real scraping on hyperlapse, so you don't have to hear the sound, because Jesus. It's definitely not perfect, and there's quite a few deep cracks in the concrete that I don't imagine are structural. There's a layer of brick behind it, but I will have to fill those in before I can do any kind of skim on this wall. And I'm probably not going to do any kind of skim on this wall until the insulation is done, because there will be, IWI in this whole corner, as well as a new door going in. So once all of that's done, we'll fix up these cracks and reskim. And now I'm going to take a break because, so sweaty. Sometimes in times of darkness, we have to add a little brightness. I'm just going to paint this little tiny bit of wall and see what happens, because I feel like I need to be doing something, and I'm a little bit limited what I can do this late at night. Let's make a mess, shall we?
One of the reasons that I wanted to get some painting done with the orange is so that we can get used to the color, but also just to make sure that it's the right shade for us. Orange can be really tricky because a lot depends on lighting and warmth, what other furnishings you have in the room. So this is just a chance for us to actually have some on the walls for a few months until we do the extension to say, is this actually the right orange for us? Especially once we've got the teal in the other room. We'll see how they play together. I wish I'd used a slightly better brush that hadn't been sat in paint stripper for God knows how long. Uh, it's now in the bin. But overall, I'm glad I did this little bit. I may do a little bit tomorrow, depending on how other things go upstairs. Thankfully, around here, there's no shortage of things to do or places to use your waste paint to fill in spaces to see if you'll like color in the kitchen as well as the dining room. We'll see you tomorrow.